Picture waking up in a world where temperatures never rise above freezing, a world where your every breath crystallizes into a cloud of ice crystals, dancing in the frigid air before your eyes. Imagine looking across an endless expanse of white, where ancient glaciers stretch toward the horizon, their massive ice sheets sculpting the very landscape beneath them. In this harsh realm, the mere act of survival seems like an impossible feat. Yet remarkably, our ancestors not only survived, but thrived during the Ice Ages, periods of extreme cold that lasted for thousands of years. These were times when vast sheets of ice covered much of the northern hemisphere, transforming fertile lands into frozen tundra. Temperatures plummeted to levels that would challenge even our most advanced modern survival gear. The very air was different, carrying less oxygen and more dust, making each breath a reminder of nature's raw power. But what makes this story truly extraordinary isn't just the survival of a few hardy individuals. It's the remarkable tale of how entire communities adapted, innovated, and passed their knowledge down through generations, ultimately leading to the civilization we know today. These weren't just people enduring the cold, they were pioneers of human ingenuity, crafting solutions to challenges we can barely imagine. What mysterious techniques did they develop to keep warm when the world itself seemed frozen solid? How did they find food when the landscape was buried under meters of snow and ice? What ingenious tools and strategies emerged from their desperate need to adapt? The answers to these questions reveal one of humanity's most impressive achievements, the ability to not just survive, but to create thriving cultures in conditions that would defeat most modern humans. As we delve into this fascinating journey of human resilience and adaptation, we'll uncover the remarkable solutions our ancestors developed, solutions that would lay the groundwork for human civilization itself. Their story isn't just about survival, it's about the triumph of human ingenuity in the face of nature's most formidable challenges. Before we begin this extraordinary journey into prehistory, like this video and subscribe to the Dawn of Humankind channel for more incredible stories of our ancestors. The Ice Ages represent some of the most dramatic climate events in Earth's recent history, spanning across multiple epochs from 2.4 million to roughly 11,700 years ago. These weren't simply cold snaps or extended winters. They were profound transformations of our planet's entire ecosystem. During these periods, massive ice sheets up to 2 miles thick advanced and retreated across continents, fundamentally reshaping the surface of our planet. At their peak, these glacial periods locked up so much water in ice that sea levels dropped by up to 400 feet, creating new land bridges between continents. This dramatic change allowed our ancestors to migrate across vast distances, populating new territories that would later become separated by rising seas. The world they knew was vastly different from ours, with average temperatures 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, colder than today. These glacial periods weren't constant. They pulsed in cycles, with brief warmer periods called interglacials. During the coldest phases, up to 30% of Earth's land surface was covered by ice. The environment was so harsh that the very composition of the atmosphere changed, with lower carbon dioxide levels and increased dust, creating challenges for both plant and animal life. The landscape was dominated by what scientists call the mammoth steppe, a unique ecosystem that has no modern equivalent. This was a cold, dry grassland that stretched across continents, supporting a diverse range of megafauna like woolly mammoths, cave bears, and giant deer. Our ancestors had to learn to navigate this environment, understanding its seasonal patterns and the behaviors of both prey and predators. These extreme conditions acted as a powerful evolutionary force, driving remarkable adaptations in human populations. The harsh environment selected for physical traits like shorter limbs and more compact body shapes in some populations, helping to conserve body heat. But perhaps more importantly, it drove cognitive and social adaptations. The need to plan ahead, to remember seasonal patterns, to innovate new tools and techniques, and to cooperate in groups all became critical survival skills. This wasn't just a story of endurance, it was a crucible of human innovation. Each solution our ancestors developed, from sophisticated hunting strategies to complex social organizations, contributed to the cognitive and cultural capabilities that would eventually give rise to modern civilization. The Ice Ages weren't just an environmental challenge to overcome. They were the training ground where many of humanity's most important survival skills were forged. The archaeological record shows evidence of increasingly sophisticated behaviors during this time, the creation of better tools, the development of more effective hunting strategies, the use of fire in more controlled ways, and the emergence of complex social structures. These weren't just adaptations to cold, they were fundamental advances in human capability that would prove crucial to our species' success. This period tested not just human physical resilience, but our capacity for social cooperation, technological innovation, and cultural adaptation. The strategies developed during these harsh times would become the foundation for human civilization, proving that our ancestors were not just survivors, but pioneers of human ingenuity and adaptation. Let's step back in time and witness a day in the life of our Ice Age ancestors. Picture a small clan of about 20 individuals, bound together not just by blood, but by the essential need for mutual survival. At the heart of this group stands a respected matriarch, her face weathered by decades of harsh winters, her eyes carrying the wisdom that has kept her people alive through countless challenges. As winter approaches, we find her carefully examining the precious furs and pelts gathered during the warmer months. Her experienced hands move across each piece, checking for weak spots that could let in the deadly cold. She has learned this vital skill from her mother and her mother before her, part of an unbroken chain of knowledge passed down through generations. Every stitch must be perfect, for in temperatures that can plunge far below freezing, a single gap in their clothing could mean the difference between life and death. Around her, the clan buzzes with activity. Young children learn crucial survival skills through play, mimicking the adults as they practice making simple tools and identifying useful plants. Teenagers work alongside the adults, their roles already well defined within the group. Some tend to the ever-burning fire, understanding that its maintenance is perhaps their most critical task. This fire is their lifeline, not just for warmth, but for protection against the fierce predators that prowl in the darkness, for cooking food, for hardening wooden spears, and for bringing the clan together in community. The hunters of the group prepare their weapons, knowing that each hunting expedition becomes more crucial as winter approaches. They must balance the risk of hunting in severe weather against the need for food. The bone needles and thread, made from animal sinews, are carefully stored, precious tools that make their protective clothing possible. Every member of the clan has a role, from the youngest who can help gather kindling to the elders who serve as living repositories of crucial survival knowledge. In their cave shelter, marked by ancient handprints and early artistic expressions, different areas serve different purposes. There's a space for tool making, another for food preparation, and a communal area where the clan gathers to share meals and stories. These stories aren't just entertainment, they're vital educational tools, passing down information about successful hunting strategies, dangerous areas to avoid, and the patterns of animal migration. The clan's social structure is sophisticated, with clear leadership roles, but also a strong sense of collective decision-making. The matriarch's authority comes not from force, but from her proven ability to keep the group alive through her knowledge and judgment. Every major decision, from when to move to a new location to how to distribute food during lean times, is made with the survival of the entire group in mind. Watch as they prepare their evening meal around the fire, their movements practiced and efficient. Some members work on tools, others process hides, while the youngest learn through observation and imitation. The air is filled with the sounds of their ancient language, complex enough to convey detailed information about hunting, gathering, and survival techniques. This is not just a group of primitive survivors. This is a sophisticated social unit, their lives carefully organized around the challenges of their environment. Every action, from the way they dress to how they structure their day, reflects thousands of years of accumulated knowledge about surviving in one of Earth's most challenging environments. As night falls and the temperature drops even further, the clan gathers closer around their fire. The matriarch begins another evening of storytelling, her words carrying not just entertainment, but crucial lessons that will help ensure the survival of future generations. This is how our ancestors lived, not just existing, but maintaining rich, complex social lives, even in the face of incredible challenges. The mastery of fire stands as humanity's first great technological revolution, but it was just the beginning of an extraordinary journey of innovation during the Ice Age. This harsh period drove our ancestors to develop sophisticated technologies that would lay the groundwork for human civilization itself. Let's start with the remarkable development of bone needles, a technology so precise that it would remain largely unchanged for tens of thousands of years. These needles, crafted from animal bones through a complex process of splitting, shaping, and polishing, represented a quantum leap in human capability. They allowed our ancestors to create closely fitted, layered clothing that could trap air for insulation, a revolutionary concept that mirrors modern cold-weather gear. The process of creating these needles required not just technical skill, but a deep understanding of material properties and tool-making techniques. Hunting technology underwent equally dramatic advances. The development of composite spears, with carefully crafted stone points attached to wooden shafts using complex binding techniques and natural adhesives, transformed hunting capabilities. These weren't simple pointed sticks. They were sophisticated weapons that required an understanding of physics, materials science, and aerodynamics. The invention of the spear thrower, or atlatl, effectively doubled the distance and force with which a spear could be thrown, allowing hunters to take down dangerous prey from a safer distance. Perhaps most impressive was their architectural innovation. Far from being simple cave dwellers, our ancestors created sophisticated shelters that displayed remarkable environmental engineering. They learned to identify and utilize caves with natural geothermal heating, where warm air from the Earth's interior would help maintain survivable temperatures. But they went further, creating complex living spaces within these caves, using rockfalls and constructed walls to create separate areas for different activities, and positioning hearths to maximize heat distribution. In areas without suitable caves, they developed other ingenious shelter solutions. They built semi-subterranean houses using mammoth bones as structural supports, covered with hides and insulated with earth and snow, creating what were essentially the world's first energy-efficient homes. These structures often included sophisticated ventilation systems to manage smoke from indoor fires while minimizing heat loss. Tool-making technology became increasingly sophisticated. The development of pressure flaking techniques allowed for the creation of more precise stone tools, while the discovery of tempering, heating, and rapidly cooling materials led to stronger, more durable implements. They developed sophisticated food preservation techniques, including smoking and drying meat, which allowed them to store food for long periods, a crucial advancement for survival in seasonal environments. The creation of waterproof containers from treated animal bladders and stomachs represented another crucial innovation, allowing for water storage and transport. They developed methods for treating animal hides to create water-resistant clothing and shelter covers, using smoke, animal brains, and other natural materials in complex tanning processes. These technological advances weren't just isolated inventions. They represented a sophisticated understanding of their environment and materials. Our ancestors learned to identify and process different types of stone for specific tools, to select different animal hides for different purposes, and to combine materials in ways that enhanced their properties. The evidence of their technological sophistication can be seen in their art as well. The creation of pigments that have lasted for tens of thousands of years, the development of techniques for working with ivory and bone to create decorative objects, and the ability to create musical instruments all point to a society that had mastered its material world to an extraordinary degree. If you're amazed by the ingenuity of our ancestors, subscribe to The Dawn of Humankind, leave a like on this video, and tell us in the comments, which of these Ice Age innovations do you find most impressive? Was it their sophisticated clothing technology, their revolutionary hunting tools, or their ingenious shelter solutions? These technological achievements weren't just about survival. They represented the dawn of human innovation, setting the stage for all future technological development. Each advance built upon previous knowledge, creating a cascade of innovation that would eventually lead to our modern world. Survival during the Ice Age presented a complex web of interconnected challenges that required extraordinary problem-solving abilities. While the bitter cold was the most immediate threat, our ancestors faced a multitude of obstacles that tested every aspect of their resilience and ingenuity. Finding sustenance in a frozen world was perhaps the most persistent challenge. The harsh climate created what we call a mammoth steppe ecosystem, a landscape where vegetation was not only scarce, but also followed entirely different growth patterns than what we know today. Our ancestors had to develop an intricate understanding of which plants could survive in these conditions, and, more importantly, where to find them beneath the snow and ice. They learned to identify and harvest lichen, hardy roots, and winter berries, often having to dig through frozen ground to reach these precious food sources. The hunting of large mammals became crucial for survival, but it was fraught with dangers and complexities. Tracking and taking down massive creatures like woolly mammoths or cave bears required not just physical prowess, but sophisticated group coordination and strategic planning. These hunts were high-stakes endeavors. Success meant survival for the entire group, while failure could mean both starvation and the loss of vital group members to injury or death. The management of resources presented another layer of challenge. Fire was essential for survival, but maintaining it required a constant supply of fuel in landscapes where wood was often scarce. Our ancestors had to develop sophisticated methods of fuel conservation, learning to use animal fat as an alternative fuel source and developing techniques to maintain embers for long periods. They also had to master the art of finding and storing dry materials in a perpetually damp environment. The challenge of staying warm went far beyond just maintaining fires. They had to constantly repair and replace clothing, which deteriorated quickly under harsh conditions. The processing of animal hides had to be done during warmer periods, requiring careful planning and foresight. They needed to ensure adequate insulation in their shelters while maintaining enough ventilation to prevent smoke accumulation, a delicate balance that could mean the difference between freezing and suffocation. Perhaps one of the most complex challenges was knowing when and where to migrate. These decisions required processing multiple variables: the movements of prey animals, the changing availability of plant foods, the condition of current shelters, the health and capability of group members to travel, and the uncertain prospects of finding better conditions elsewhere. Wrong decisions could be fatal, leading groups into areas without adequate resources or exposing them to dangerous weather conditions. Water management presented its own unique set of problems. While surrounded by ice and snow, obtaining safe drinking water was not as simple as it might seem. Melting snow and ice required precious fuel, and drinking cold water in freezing conditions could dangerously lower body temperature. They had to develop methods to store and transport water without it freezing, and to maintain access to water sources during the coldest periods. Social challenges were equally daunting. Groups had to maintain cohesion under extreme stress, manage conflicts with limited resources, and ensure the transmission of vital knowledge to younger generations. The loss of key knowledge holders, those who understood weather patterns, hunting grounds, or tool-making techniques, could spell disaster for an entire group. Disease and injury posed constant threats, magnified by the harsh conditions. Simple injuries could become life-threatening in the extreme cold, and traditional medicinal plants were often inaccessible during winter months. Groups had to develop methods of caring for their sick and injured while maintaining the productivity necessary for group survival. The psychological challenges were immense. Living in almost constant darkness during winter months, dealing with the stress of constant survival pressure, and maintaining group morale in the face of persistent hardship required remarkable mental resilience. Our ancestors had to develop social and cultural practices that helped maintain psychological well-being under these extreme conditions. These challenges required not just isolated solutions, but an integrated approach to survival. Success depended on the ability to balance immediate needs against long-term planning, to maintain social cooperation under extreme stress, and to pass on accumulated knowledge effectively to future generations. The fact that our ancestors not only survived but thrived under these conditions is a testament to their remarkable adaptability and resourcefulness. The story of our Ice Age ancestors carries profound lessons for our modern world, particularly as we face our own climate challenges. While they confronted a cooling planet, we face a warming one, but the fundamental challenge remains the same: adaptation to rapid environmental change. Our ancestors' success in surviving extreme climate conditions demonstrates the remarkable adaptability of our species. They developed solutions through observation, experimentation, and the passing down of knowledge through generations. Today, we face climate challenges with vastly superior tools and understanding, yet we can learn much from their approach to problem-solving and community resilience. One crucial lesson lies in their resource management. Ice Age humans understood the delicate balance between consumption and conservation. They developed sophisticated systems for preserving food, managing fuel, and using every part of their resources without waste. In our modern context of environmental degradation and resource depletion, their efficient lifestyle offers valuable insights into sustainable living. Their social organization provides another critical lesson. Ice Age communities survived through tight-knit cooperation and shared responsibility. Every member of the group had a role to play, and survival depended on collective effort. This model of community resilience remains relevant today as we face climate challenges that require global cooperation and shared responsibility. The Ice Age people's relationship with their environment demonstrates the importance of careful observation and adaptation. They didn't try to dominate nature, but learned to work within its constraints. They studied weather patterns, animal behaviors, and plant cycles, developing an intimate understanding of their environment that allowed them to anticipate and prepare for changes. This approach to environmental awareness and adaptation remains vital in our modern context. Perhaps most importantly, our ancestors' experience shows that survival requires long-term thinking and planning. They couldn't afford to think only about immediate needs. They had to consider seasons ahead, preparing for winters during summer abundance. This lesson is particularly relevant today as we grapple with climate change impacts that require long-term planning and preventive action. While we have technological advantages our ancestors could never have imagined, their fundamental approaches to problem-solving remain relevant. They understood that survival required innovation, adaptation, and cooperation. They recognized that knowledge must be preserved and passed on, that resources must be managed sustainably, and that communities must work together to overcome challenges. Today's climate challenges may be different in nature, but they demand similar qualities: resilience, adaptability, innovation, and cooperation. We have satellites to track weather patterns where our ancestors had generational knowledge. We have computer models to predict climate changes where they had careful observation and experience. We have global communication networks where they had oral traditions. Yet the basic principles they employed, careful observation, sustainable resource use, community cooperation, and long-term planning, remain essential tools for human survival. The story of Ice Age survival reminds us that humanity has faced and overcome dramatic climate challenges before. While our modern challenges are unprecedented in scale and nature, our capacity for adaptation and innovation remains one of our species' greatest strengths. The resilience that allowed our ancestors to survive through the Ice Age lives on in our DNA, complemented now by scientific knowledge and technological capabilities that they could never have imagined. As we face our own climate challenges, we would do well to combine our modern advantages with the time-tested wisdom of our ancestors. Their respect for natural systems, their commitment to community survival, and their understanding that adaptation requires both innovation and cooperation. Their legacy is not just one of survival, but of thriving through adversity by drawing upon the best of human capabilities. Did you know that many of the food preservation techniques we take for granted today were actually pioneered by our Ice Age ancestors? These ancient innovations weren't just clever tricks. They were revolutionary survival technologies that transformed human society and continue to influence our lives today. Take smoking meat, for instance. Archaeological evidence suggests that this preservation technique was developed over 40,000 years ago. Our ancestors discovered that hanging meat in the smoke above their fires not only helped it last longer, but also kept insects away and added new flavors. They learned that different types of wood produce different flavors and preservation qualities, a principle still used in modern smoking techniques. But smoking wasn't their only innovation. These ancient humans also mastered the art of drying foods. They discovered that meat cut into thin strips and exposed to cold, dry winter air would preserve for months. This technique, known as freeze-drying, is remarkably similar to modern preservation methods used in everything from camping foods to luxury products. Another fascinating preservation technique they developed was the use of fermentation. By burying meat in the ground under specific conditions, they accidentally discovered that certain bacteria could help preserve food while creating new, distinctive flavors. This ancient discovery forms the basis of many modern fermented foods, from cured meats to certain types of cheese. Perhaps most remarkably, Ice Age humans developed sophisticated storage techniques that mirror modern cold storage principles. They dug deep pits in permafrost to create natural freezers, using ice and snow to preserve meat through long winters. They learned to wrap foods in animal bladders and stomach linings, nature's version of plastic wrap, to protect them from contamination. They also pioneered the use of salt for food preservation, though it was a precious commodity. When they could find it, they discovered that rubbing meat with salt or soaking it in salty water significantly extended its storage life. This basic principle remains a cornerstone of food preservation today, from simple salted fish to complex curing processes. These ancient food preservation techniques weren't just about survival. They represented a fundamental shift in human capability. By learning to preserve food, our ancestors could survive long winters, travel longer distances, and establish more permanent settlements. This ability to store food long-term was one of the key developments that eventually made civilization possible. Many of these ancient techniques have been refined but not fundamentally changed. Modern jerky is made using essentially the same principles as Ice Age dried meat. Traditional smokehouses in many cultures still use methods remarkably similar to those developed during the Ice Age. Even the basic principles of freezing and drying foods remain unchanged. We've simply mechanized and standardized processes that our ancestors developed through careful observation and experimentation. The next time you enjoy smoked salmon, beef jerky, or cured ham, remember that you're tasting the result of innovations developed by our Ice Age ancestors. Their ingenuity in preserving food didn't just help them survive. It laid the groundwork for food preservation techniques that would sustain human societies for millennia to come. These preservation methods were more than just practical solutions. They represented a fundamental leap in human cognitive ability. They demonstrated our ancestors' capacity to think ahead, to understand cause and effect over long periods, and to develop complex, multi-step processes. This cognitive sophistication was just as important to human survival as the preservation techniques themselves. In many ways, these ancient food preservation techniques represent one of humanity's first great technological revolutions, one whose impact continues to influence how we store and prepare food today, some 40,000 years after its development. As we conclude our journey through the Ice Age, we're left with a profound appreciation of our species' remarkable capacity for survival and adaptation. The next time you feel the bite of winter cold, remember that flowing through your veins is the same DNA that enabled our ancestors to survive and thrive in conditions we can barely imagine. Their legacy lives on, not just in our genes, but in the very foundations of human civilization. The Ice Age wasn't merely a period of survival. It was a crucible that forged humanity's most remarkable qualities. Every challenge our ancestors faced became an opportunity for innovation. Every obstacle they encountered led to solutions that would shape human development for millennia to come. From the development of sophisticated clothing to the creation of complex social structures, from the invention of revolutionary hunting techniques to the mastery of fire and shelter construction, each advancement was a testament to human ingenuity. These achievements weren't just about staying alive, they represented fundamental leaps in human cognitive ability, social organization, and technological innovation. Our ancestors didn't just endure the Ice Age. They used it as a launching pad for human advancement. The sophisticated tools they created, the complex social structures they developed, and the knowledge systems they established would become the building blocks of later civilizations. Their story reminds us that human potential is often revealed most powerfully in the face of seemingly impossible challenges. The same determination that allowed our ancestors to survive temperatures far below freezing, to hunt prehistoric megafauna, and to maintain complex social structures in the harshest conditions imaginable, remains within us today. We are their descendants, inheritors of their resilience, their creativity, and their indomitable spirit. The Ice Age era stands as a testament to humanity's extraordinary adaptive capabilities. It shows us that we are capable of far more than we might imagine, that our species can not only survive, but thrive in the face of extreme adversity. This understanding becomes particularly relevant as we face our own global challenges today. The same human qualities that enabled Ice Age survival, innovation, cooperation, resilience, and adaptability, remain our greatest assets in addressing modern challenges. The story of Ice Age survival is ultimately the story of human potential realized under the most demanding conditions our species has ever faced. It's a reminder that within each of us lies the capacity for extraordinary achievement, for innovation in the face of adversity, and for triumph over seemingly impossible odds. If you've been amazed by this incredible story of human survival and adaptation, Don't forget to hit that like button and share this video with your friends. Subscribe to The Dawn of Humankind for more fascinating journeys into our ancestral past. Click the notification bell to ensure you never miss our upcoming episodes exploring humanity's most remarkable achievements and discoveries. And let us know in the comments what aspect of Ice Age survival impressed you the most. Was it their technological innovations, their social adaptations, or perhaps their remarkable resilience? Share your thoughts and join our community of history enthusiasts exploring humanity's extraordinary past. Remember to check out our other videos about ancient human innovations, prehistoric survival strategies, and the remarkable journey of human evolution.